You are listening to the MS Power User Podcast. This is episode 36, recorded Thursday, February 23rd of 2017. Each week on this podcast, we discuss the latest news about Microsoft, including Surfaces, Xboxes, Skypes, Redstones, Grooves, WhatsApps sometimes, and of course, Windows. Today we're going to dig into Redstone 3. We are excited to hear about what's coming with the next big Windows update after the Creators Update, which is coming very soon. My name is Vernon E.L. Smith. I am joined, as usual, by Andy Bennett. Hi, Andy.
Hey, how's it going?
Splendid. I missed a storm, though. We were supposed to get 8 to 14 inches of snow, which was after torrential rains for like a week. It was super nice. We had tons of rain, which is good for the farmers. And then we were supposed to get this awesome snowstorm, and we didn't get it. So now it's just bleak out and no cheery snow. How about you?
I'm enjoying 70-degree weather, man.
Oh, wow. Yeah. We haven't had 70-degree weather. It was up. It did
actually,
break 50.
It's a bit more 65 to 67 than just 70, but it's close enough with some humidity thrown in here and there. It feels pretty good, and I have no complaints whatsoever about any of this. Except for the fact it's raining a little bit, which, I mean, not right now, but I would much rather have just nice, clear skies, which we've mostly had, to be fair. But, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, this week my daughter did get a chance to play outside with us and got her first bonk on the head of the... She fell and just landed right on the concrete on the sidewalk and cried for a good 90 seconds, and then she was good. Like she's fine. Anyway, let's talk about some. Well, start us off, Andy, with the big news here: Redstone 3.
Yeah,
we have.
This is the biggest topic of the week, really. And if you are new to this, Microsoft, of course, has code names for things. The last couple of Windows releases have been under the codename Redstone. Like the current Windows release you're likely running now, if you're running production builds, is Redstone 1, even if you might know it as the Anniversary Update. And the Creators Update, if you're on Insider Builds, you're currently running it, is Redstone 2. Now, of course, the obvious next step after that is a third Redstone build, or rather, Redstone branch.
I think they would just go with a different color stone instead of the same stone.
This is kind of funny, really, the way they codenamed Windows 10 releases and also some parts in Windows 10. Like the original Windows 10 release was TH1 and TH2, and that was short for Threshold 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that you've got to be a big Halo nerd to know about. In fact, you have to be so big a nerd that, as someone who has played all of the Halo games, I didn't notice until reading a Wikipedia article that it is... Threshold is the name of one of the planets that you'll end up seeing in Halo. Which, that's neat, I guess. It was so obscure that even I missed it, despite owning every single thing in the franchise except Halo Wars 2 right now. But, yeah. They've been going with game code names for a little bit, like Microsoft Edge was Project Spartan. And then, of course, they have Cortana, which, if memory serves, they did intend to switch to a different name, but fan feedback and... actually, just an overall positive reception let them keep it.
Yeah, which I'm I'm grateful for. I wish they would have kept Spartan. Really,
I mean, if we're going from a marketing standpoint, Spartan can be used as very much an insult. It's bare bones, etc., etc.
Yeah, but isn't a Spartan light and agile and efficient?
I think they're just trying to avoid another situation where someone can pummel them with negative ads, but that's a story for another day, I guess.
Fair enough. And they wanted to keep the E. I get it. So, well, really,
that is important. Yeah, there was a lot of brand stuff that went into that. Like they did research studies, like what would people want in a name the most, or what names they liked, and they came to the conclusion that people liked it if you put the company name before the name of the product, like, for example, Google Chrome, so they went with Microsoft Edge. So that's your little tidbits of the day about stuff you didn't even come here to hear about, I'm sure. But anyways, yeah. Redstone 3 is it's not currently given a name other than that. It's just a codenamed release of Windows that we know will come near the end of the year, likely in fall, if anything in past years is anything to go by. And yeah, it is going to, well, excuse me, we are likely going to first see Redstone 3 about build 2017, which is also when we will see Project Neon. We
May
might
10th
see,
through the 12th. Or I'm pretty sure, yes.
yeah, I think that's about it, yeah. And, yeah. Boy,
I should say,
this is
build,
a situation where I need you to cover, I think.
Okay, sorry. I should say that build is my favorite Microsoft thing. Okay, I'll just cover it very broadly. Like, of all the different events that Microsoft has in the year, build has pretty much always been the best one. Not necessarily from attending. I mean, I'm not gonna, not everyone gets to attend these, obviously, but from the things that are covered, the keynotes are always very good. I think you probably get the most participation, or I should say viewership, watching the keynotes, and they have a lot of developer stuff, but they always make a point to show off some hardware, some new software. It's always a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to build in many regards. This year is going to be in Seattle, and it's I think last year, or was it 2 years ago, it was in San Francisco. I always get myself in trouble when I try to share the lineage of these, so we won't go there, but I'm excited for this. So Redstone 3, like you said, we got some...
Build is basically like Microsoft fans' Christmas.
Yeah, it really is. And for several years, you knew by going to build, by paying $2,000 for a ticket for it. That's what it is this year. I think most years have been about that price. But then people knew that by going, you would always get a free something like a laptop or whatever. I forget which year it was, but people, I think they handed out the Surface 2 one year.
I do know that it was like maybe 2015 where they handed out, I think it was a Dell XPS.
Was that? I think so, yeah. And last year they did not hand anything out because it was...
They did give out Azure credits because it's a developer event.
That's true, and it was slightly comical, but it does make more sense. And then
extra hardware did make sense as well. Like again, this is a developer event, and of course you're going to need something to develop for, or develop on, or have hardware to test things. So they'd hand out, a popular device that they wanted people to build their apps for because they knew people were going to buy it.
Except, if you're paying $2,000 out of your pocket to go to this, you probably have a personal computer to develop on. And if your company is paying $2,000 for you to go, they probably have a computer for you to develop on. And
that is true.
Or if you're going for free and somehow earned the credit or whatever from Microsoft, they probably have a good reason for it and can assume that you have something to develop on. Obviously, getting the spiff of the hardware is pretty fantastic too. I won't dwell on this more, but it's shifted away from getting the hardware and more towards encouraging use of the software or service that they are promoting.
So I guess you could say it is shifted to developers.
Except it's funny because it has been more consumer stuff, at least as far as revealing revelations.
I'm not sure that I'd say it got... I'd say it, in fact, got a little less fun to watch as a consumer, because previously, back when Windows Phone was in its heyday, you'd see stuff like the Cortana announcement, you'd see Windows Phone 8.1, and actually, I think that was 2014? Yeah, that...
I think 14 was Cortana, yeah. I think.
Yeah, 14 sounds about right, because they also showed off the new Start menu design.
I think so. And it's so tough to keep track of it all. Anyway.
Yeah, that was the first one I tuned into, and it was a really excellent event. And there has been a shift since then, where it's kind of gotten... I don't want to just say, it's gotten less fun to watch. It's a bad event. That's not what I mean whatsoever. But it has definitely shifted towards a bit more code in recent years, bit more developing, bit more developers, and I'm pretty sure there's way more Azure than usual as well. But yeah, Or that
Well,
it's
they're
just that it's
ramping that
early.
up anyway. That's fine.
Yeah, yeah. It's not a criticism. I just want to be clear there. It's just
Mhm.
like an observation, you know.
Okay, so let's roll this back towards where it started with Redstone 3.
Absolutely, yeah.
So,
And, okay, go on.
well, there are two main things that we know are coming in Redstone 3, and then there's some things that we can kind of speculate on. But Project Neon, which go to our site, we're covering it very well. I feel.
Yeah.
I'm
I think maybe we should move towards the root of the story here first before we talk about some of the features, I guess. But the big
Go
news
ahead.
now is that the very first Redstone 3 builds are being compiled. At this very moment in time, there is a little robot in Microsoft HQ pushing buttons, or, just running scripts, because it's a computer, actually, and just sitting there compiling Redstone 3 builds. And these, well, it's the start of something new. There aren't very many changes in there yet. In fact, there might even be fewer things in the current Redstone 3 builds than the current Redstone 2 builds because of how things are being merged. Like the way Microsoft does things, usually they will have a preview branch, they will have branches to develop features, etc., etc. Like, for example, they have entire branches dedicated to developing, say, the Xbox app and its related features, like the game bar. They have an entire dedicated branch to testing out drivers. They might have an entire dedicated branch to making sure that the Windows Update services work, etc., etc. The list goes on and on and on. And so then they will merge the stuff from one branch to another. And of course, if you have two branches that are running parallel, like for example, you have Redstone 2 main branch, you have Redstone 3 main branch, a lot of stuff right now might end up being merged into Redstone 2 instead of Redstone 3. And yeah. I mean, it's something that's kind of to be expected, I guess, with how this stuff works. But yeah, so congratulations, Insider. You might actually have a few more features in there. But anyways, it's early stuff, so you're not going to... It's not like, oh boy, Microsoft has just started compiling Redstone 3 builds. That obviously means it has my people. It obviously means that all of a sudden every single little inch of Project Neon's in there. No, that is not how it is. That's not how it works. That is not what is going to happen. Instead, we might not even see some of that stuff come in. Like, assuming we get a preview from Microsoft themselves, or there is a leak, or etc. In fact, maybe they will even put this out as an insider build before build, because if memory serves, they did that last year. And the build, I'm doing air quotes here, but you can't see them, that was released earlier that week or the week before, I can't remember which, as an insider preview build in the fast ring. And so, yeah, it might be a while before anything interesting gets put in there, but they are compiling it. We do know that Redstone 2 is in the final stretch, as it's just bug fixes at this point in time. You're not going to find any new features at all.
Yep, feature lock, basically.
Yeah, that's actually what they call it. Everything's locked in, aside from that they have stuff they need to fix, which they seem to have so much in need of fixing that they haven't released a new build for a while. It's been has it been a week? 2 weeks now?
Well, our most recent build, especially on mobile, introduced the new share icon.
Oh yeah, so that was
that's almost 2 weeks ago. Yeah,
that was the second of the month, I think. Yeah. 15025.
All right, so tell us more about what's in Redstone 3.
All right, so rather, it's not in there right now, but we're going to see it in the future. There is, like we said, there's Project Neon. Project Neon is a new design language for Windows 10. We've talked about this stuff before, but it is going to be very interesting to see how this is handled, and if it sticks to the initial concepts that we had exclusives of. I always enjoy saying that, but yeah, it's to best describe it. I don't want to say it looks just like Mac OS, but it's coming from a similar concept. You have flat objects that have the items behind them blurred. And it's the same concept, really. does not necessarily mean they're stealing design from Apple, but they are coming from the same direction. And just to think, if Microsoft did this a couple years earlier, maybe with Windows 8, then it would have been that Mac OS was stealing from Microsoft, or rather, stealing from Windows, Apple stealing from Microsoft, once again.
Well, everybody stole from Windows Phone.
That's true.
Which, of course, everyone says that everyone stole from Palm, from WebOS.
If you want to have a blast from the past, you can start saying that everyone's stealing from Windows Phone again when Samsung and Remix both decide to launch their Continuum-like solutions for Android, which we don't have any article on that, I don't believe, since MS Power User. But yeah, there's Continuum clones that are coming out.
It's coming.
Yeah, Microsoft was the first one there. And now everyone else is going to hop on the train, especially after Samsung does it. But yeah.
All right. So neon and acrylic and basically stuff that is what the Groove Music app looks like. Similar to what that looks like now.
Well,
give you an idea.
A little more than that.
Yeah.
All right. So take the current Groove Music app. All right. You see that you've got all those nice blurred elements and etc. All right. So let's say I'll open up Groove right now and just take a quick look around. I'll see that the bottom bar is blurred and blurs content in the app. That's a top layer. Then on the way back layer, you have that white or black background, depending on your theme. I'll say white because I have the light theme. So there's that white background, and above that, you have the elements. You've got a second layer in between where you've got the albums. You have stuff like listings, etc., etc. Well, that background layer with neon, that background layer will become what's called acrylic. And that means that it will blur everything behind it, not content in the app like we see now, but rather say, I have Groove Music in front of OneNote, which I actually do right now. I will see little blurred black spaces and colors from OneNote bleeding into that window because it's basically the Windows arrow effect come back again, but it is handled a bit differently, both from a technical side and a design side. As with Arrow, it was kind of a situation where you don't have the entire window covered in the glass effect. This, you're definitely going to see that. I mean, yes, you'll see some blurred title bars, yes, but you'll also see a lot of blurred everything else too. So basically, almost the entire window will have that. And there's already examples that you can get working stuff going in Redstone 2 with the current features added in there. It's possible to start calling in the acrylic functions. Sometimes it's a little buggy, but it works. And we actually talked about it a couple weeks ago where I think it was I don't know if it was a week or two ago, maybe 3, but Gus, who makes Interop Tools, which I think I'm saying the name right, hope I am, released a test build of that a while ago that features neon design in there that is designed to match the concepts almost one-to-one, and it's excellent looking, looks pretty good. And yeah, you'll start seeing the official announcement of that with Redstone 3. Presumably at build, maybe a little bit before, but presumably at build. I mean, if they do it there, it'll have more impact, but that's what I thought when last year when they had the build beforehand, so we'll see. Alrighty, now, Vernon, do you feel educated?
More about Groove and about build and about Redstone, other Redstones, but that's okay. Some people wanted to kind of hear the backstory, and it's nice to kind of refresh. Another thing that we know is coming, or we can strongly assume is coming in Redstone 3, would be Seashell, which is a odd enough name anyway, but it's short for Composable Shell. Basically, this is an adaptive shell.
I can explain this.
You go ahead, explain it better than I can. Yeah.
All right, and maybe just ask questions as I explain because I do best with what I like to call tag teaming, I guess.
Okay.
But anyways, Seashell, it's basically going to make every single Windows device right now, be it, and I'm talking as in different devices, you have Windows Phone, you have Windows Desktop, you have Xbox One, you have HoloLens, you have Surface Hub. Each one of these devices is running a slightly different shell, sometimes majorly different in cases like the Xbox One, which I'm pretty sure is a completely different world right now than, of course, Windows Desktop. And even Windows Phone, of course, is a very different shell from the Windows Desktop. But they're going to move the way that these shells run under the hood much closer together, and that will allow a bit closer feature parity. Like this year, way back in last year, they demonstrated multiple windows running in Continuum with touchscreen support, touchscreen monitor support, which they explicitly stated at that point was not in Windows 10 Mobile at the moment. And we believe that is either what will be achieved with Seashell, or that was achieved then with Seashell. And you'll see stuff like that. You'll see stuff start moving closer together. You'll start seeing that platforms have almost all the same features, at least basic features you'd expect. And stuff will start to make a bit more sense. Like right now, maybe you'll think, why can I do this on the Windows desktop, but why can't I do it in Continuum? That's going to start to go away. I mean, it's not like they're bringing Win32 app support. That's not what I mean, but rather like, say, the Action Center and how it functions, or multiple windows, how they function, snapping windows together, which, I mean, you can't do that at all with Continuum right now because they just have one window, which is pretty much full screen, but you get the gist.
I think I have another way to describe this. Might actually be a little bit more succinct. It's a hard word to say. I think of it as more like responsive web design, is that you're still going to get the same content there. It just might show up in a little bit different way. It will definitely look different, but the point is that it's all the same core, and it's
that is actually pretty much it. Yeah,
it's a one way to look at it, and it's deeper than that, but that's probably the best.
Maybe it could also be comparable to Universal apps, which of course they run on every platform with the same code. They have generally the same features, although they might look different.
So we're talking about two different things, though. The apps themselves obviously run on Windows. The apps are already running everywhere with the same code, basically. But Windows itself is what we're talking about for Seashell.
I mean, it's not going to be... And it's not like every single Windows version is going to have 1.1 parity. Like, you're not going to look into Windows Phone a year down the road and see that all of a sudden you see C/Windows that looks identical to C/Windows on your Windows machine. It's not like you're going to do that with the Xbox One either, of course. But you get the...
I bet that's in the registry somewhere. I mean, there's so much of that.
They're not going to start porting registry keys or anything of the sort. But
I'm just, as we understand it, so much of the base code is becoming more and more the same. Anyway,
yeah, stuff is going to start becoming closer together, and it's something that it's like my head is still spinning even as I read the notes, basically.
All right. Well, let's move forward then. I mean, we expect to hear it announced at Build, like I mentioned, officially announced, and we'll likely see it this fall. So
and that's for, of course, for a full release. And one other thing that not mentioned in our notes here, which Vernon's reading, but it is worth noting that we'll probably also see the People Bar come back, which was originally intended for Redstone 2 and got delayed. Although I do honestly wonder if they will ever pull it off. I mean, it seems like such a huge change to Windows internally and externally that it's just like, well, I mean, not externally, but it seems like such a huge change that I do wonder if it's ever going to happen at all. I mean, keep in mind, I'm someone who's followed the gaming industry for years, and whenever I see a big announcement, like, for example, Vernon won't know this, but I'll give a little story. There is a company called Bethesda. They release games in the Elder Scrolls series, as well as currently Fallout. There is a man there named Todd Howard. He's skilled, for sure. but he also really hypes up announcements, and he also announces things that I do believe his team had tried to work on, but they couldn't meet that goal in the end. Like, for example, at one point he said that their game Fallout 3 would have over 100 endings. Not really the case. And there's a variety of other stuff, but yeah, it's something that I think maybe it was announced too early, because I don't know if they had it running on an actual Windows build or if they just showed a mock-up, which, if memory serves, it looked maybe it looked fairly legit when it was shown off. I can't quite remember, but the start menu demo back at Build 2014 did look legit, and then was later revealed to be a heavily edited video. So, always worth keeping that stuff in mind.
All right. Moving forward, we get next is an item in our mobile category, except I'm not covering it this time.
I will never, ever, ever be able to speak after today. Alrighty. I can make it. Now, Microsoft, their mobile efforts are succeeding on a platform known as Android. And this might hurt to hear, I guess, but they have what's called a launcher for Android. If you don't know what an Android launcher is, it's the home screen. On Android, you can just completely swap them out with whatever you want. You could even get a knockoff of a Windows Mobile home screen if you want, although the majority of those that I have tried are not very good. As much as I like the Tile UI, you're not going to find anything on Android that natively takes advantage of that, or any way to make it take advantage of that, to my knowledge. But I digress. Microsoft has been running the Aero launcher for a while now through Microsoft Garage. It's an excellent home screen. I use it daily, and I have since I got this phone, and it's great. It's got all sorts of neat little functions I use, like a people pane with your recent calls and contacts, and ways to contact them. Like, for example, I've got my mom as my most recent call. I can then tap her profile image on there, and I can choose to either text her or call her right from there without having to open up my contacts app. It's little stuff like that that makes Aero really helpful, and is why I've stuck with it so long. And then recently they this interests me because they apparently announced it, but I actually have it here on Stable. The version 3.0 of Aero, which is its biggest update yet, and I can attest to that, it certainly is. This update brings in a variety of changes to the user interface and how stuff is handled, but probably the biggest change, really, is that it adds a page that, if anything else, I'd say it's comparable to iOS, really, in how it looks, although not quite functionality, where Vernon, you know how on iOS's home screen you swipe over enough and then you start seeing the Siri pane?
Yeah, basically they're calling it widgets, which Android had a decade ago. But
well, yeah, Android has always had a widgets page, and this already has a traditional widgets page, but this is something totally different with the same name, and it's preset widgets that are all various different Aero pages you can already activate, like frequent. You can see your frequent apps here. Recent contacts, reminders, documents, recent pictures or screenshots you've taken, and calls. A nice and handy search bar to search through basically everything on your phone. And it's not quite the Siri page in terms of functionality, like I said, but is the first thing I see with this is definitely that. You swipe over to the left, and you see it. And it's got the widget design is similar enough for me, and it's good. Aero in general is this hybrid of both Microsoft and some design ideas from iOS, and it just works out flawlessly. But yeah, massive update that is either rolling out. I think it's rolling out right now, and it's pretty great. It makes things just that much better, and I like it. So yeah,
cool.
And now Vernon gets to handle the story.
Well, this is okay. So we've not talked about this Microsoft. Well, it's not quite. How do I say this? We really don't talk about smart home stuff, really. So Home 8 is a one of the leading. I'm not the best one to talk about this, okay? I'm probably better than Andy because he hadn't even looked at this. But I'm not a smart home person, but there's a great deal on this. It's not a direct Microsoft product, but you can get it from the Microsoft Store. Home 8 Smart Garage, basically starter kit is what they call it. And, you can have garage or Wi-Fi garage door opener. You do have a monitor, which is exactly what I need. Actually, I'm very tempted to get this. There's no like contract or anything with this. You have cloud backup and video storage included. Let's see. I wish I dug deeper into this stuff in the future and like understood. I would love to get into smart home stuff, but this is a great way to fiddle around with smart home things. It's normally 200 some bucks, and it's $50 off. Looks like something to check out. Obviously, go to our website and learn more about it because you're not getting anything valuable from me on this, but it was worth bringing up. Home 8 Smart Garage Starter Kit. I was actually quite distracted by something else, which we'll cover after Andy's next thing here.
Alrighty. Alright, so Twitter has done a okay job supporting Windows 10. They had a universal app which came out, if I recall, just before Windows 10 launched originally, back with the good old Threshold 1, and it's been very similar throughout the years. There hasn't been much changed with that app, but now there is a big shakeup on its way, which it does seem to be rolling out now, as I know Mahidi has this update, but I do not, and I haven't since he posted the article, but it's adding tabs to the desktop version of its Windows 10 app. And it's tabs. They'll show up above your timeline or whatever page you're on. You can press a new tab button and start opening up whatever you want. You can, and it's, basically really decent for multitasking. And some people might ask, alright, why wouldn't I use this instead of just going to a browser? And really, why would you use the app instead of going to a browser? Some people just like having dedicated apps, but there's also the whole Windows 10 tablet factor that a lot of people keep forgetting when complaining about stuff like this. And this is something that I think will be ideal for if you got a Windows 10 tablet, either use daily, use it with Twitter or whatever, and you just feel like, multitasking, and you really, really, really wish that was in the Twitter app. There you go. And this comes out with a big bunch of other changes, including an emoji library, and this is something that's on both Windows 10. Actually, yeah, Windows 10 desktop and tablet, it says. Mobile doesn't seem to be taking advantage of some of this stuff, although really, mobile doesn't need an emoji picker to begin with when it has it built into the keyboard. Although again, yeah, it also doesn't have tab support. But yeah. And this is something that will be handy on Windows 10 desktop, especially where it says you can now tweet and direct message with a handy Windows 10 emoji library. Just a little pop-up window where you can sort through your emojis, which is nice. Also says that pinned tweets can now be viewed and created, which that brings it up to parity with both the web version and competing mobile apps, like iOS and Android. The number of replies is now displayed on each tweet. Again, feature parity brought up to. If you are a protected user, you now have the option to accept follower requests. Again, more feature parity. Direct messages now display rich content instead of plain text links. Should have been there day one. And you can now browse more of Twitter without an account. So that's a pretty substantial update. Easily the biggest update that Twitter for Windows 10 has gotten so far. And yeah, I just wish I had it so that I could show it off a little bit.
All right, well, I get to talk about a more fun app update, and this
is one that Vernon actually has.
Yeah, and I can cover this better than the previous one I covered. Groove Music, we mentioned it earlier, but the Groove Music app has been updated. There's some interesting stuff in there which I'm glad to see, and some other things I'm really surprised why it's a thing. But sharing your personal playlists with friends on social media or whatever via email and other apps. That is now easier to do. Now there were weird workarounds at times using the web version of it, but now it's quite official. You can use it in the app, and it works. You get to go open your Groove app right now. At least on I think both versions, or on any device, will have the new share icon. Yippee! If you're so thrilled by those things, and so sharing a playlist with someone is a great thing, and it's kind of a chance to show off your musical tastes. It's easy to share a single song and say, "Hey, I'm listening to this song," put it on Twitter, but to put together a playlist is personalized, and obviously, and especially you could put together, long ago you put together a mixtape for someone that you had great affection for, and you would give that to them, and this is so personal. And now
I'm learning history.
and you could do this. You can now do this with a playlist. Put together a playlist that's dedicated to your sweetheart, and it would be just for you, dear, or whatever cheesy line you want to use. So
I can interject with another use for this, because this is actually reminds me of something that I did a long time ago. So years ago, some friends and I would get together, and we'd, of course, we'd play Minecraft and some other games. But what we would usually do is that we would turn off the game's music, and we would have a playlist. I forget if it was on Spotify or YouTube or what, but we would get that playlist, and we would share it with each other. We'd add in our own songs, and as we all played the game together, we'd have our music synced up.
Nice.
And so that's a potential use case scenario for this. It's something that was real fun back when we did it, and now that I'm thinking about this, I really want to gather those people up again. But yeah, just one more instance where you can use it.
Nice. I like that. So that's a good thing. Next up, you can preview millions of songs so you know what you are missing. Could you not do this before?
Well, that would be if you didn't have a Groove Music Pass. Like, I don't believe you could preview songs within the app. In the Windows Store, you could go in and preview songs, but from the app itself, no.
Quite literally, I've done this a lot on extra devices I've not been logged in on, or logged in with a different ID. I've tested this out. I've spent way too much time in Groove.
Really? I don't remember that.
So maybe it's just wasn't available on the desktop app, the big Windows app.
That was likely it, yes, because I used it on desktop and not mobile.
Okay, but in mobile, you've always been able to preview that, even back when it was Zune Music and then to Xbox Music and to Groove Music. You could always preview, usually 30 seconds or something, and it would have like a price next to it, to buy it $129 or something. If you didn't have the preview app, or the Groove Music app, Groove Music Service, Groove Music Pass, something that. So I guess that's not any different on the mobile app, and substantially different on the desktop. But I've always been logged in on the desktop. Next up, you can text yourself links to install the Groove app from the Groove app, but you can text the links to install it on iOS or Android. And funny, it doesn't mention Windows Phone, and
which really it's not needed.
That's
in this
okay.
Scenario because it's pre-installed. So
that's true. It is actually pre-installed, correct. So that does make sense, but it's just one more opportunity to leave out Windows Phone, and so I proverbially shake my fist at the powers that be. But that's okay. And
I mean, I think it would be kind of weird to text yourself a link to install something that's actually, I don't think you can uninstall Groove from any Windows 10 phone anyways. So.
I don't think you can. Nope.
So, yeah.
So that's interesting. One more note here. It does say that opening links to shared playlists requires that friends are running the current version of Groove.
Which I think that makes sense. That makes
because
sense. You've got that, you got a function to send playlists and a function to receive playlists.
Yep. So think of it this way. Right now, you already have some pretty cool playlists in there from my Groove. So I don't really know how I'd be that much more difficult, but fair enough. Your friends that you're sending this to also need to have the same version of Groove. So this is one great way to exclude the iOS and Android folks, at least for now, until they get the update like tomorrow. So at least on mobile. Moving forward into another area that I like. I have in the past year or so, I'm kind of late coming to the game, but I've started to finally pretty much just watch my movies on, stream them. I have it for a couple years now. I have been. And it's just not a big deal for me to watch movies. I don't. But I've been starting to do it through Microsoft Music. Not Microsoft Music, Microsoft Movies. And so right now...
Movies and TV.
Yeah, there are updates. There's an update to Movies and TV. I don't see them. I mean, I don't really see anything when you just pull them up. But of course, listed here, there's a couple things that mostly under the hood. But first of all, your videos will always stay on top while multitasking with mini mode, which mini mode is basically what is the actual term? I'm going to get it right, I swear.
Picture in picture.
There's a better term. Hold on. It is the compact overlay, which of course, picture in picture is basically what that is. So
and that arrived with the last build we covered.
Correct. Yeah.
15025.
Was it that, or was it 15030? Whatever. Recent. Yeah. So creators update, one of the later.
Okay. Oh wait, no, it was. Yeah. I'm sorry because of how we named the changelog. It mixed me up. Yeah. So that was that was the build from the 9th, not the 2nd. My bad.
There you go. Thinking with your head again and just going with your gut. So if you're on the Insider, one of the newer Insider ones, you're gonna have this capability. If it's whatever. Also, you're going to, so that is kind of cool to have compact overlay, picture in picture working. You can also play a broader range of video formats. So MPEG-2 videos. For MPEG-2 videos, you'll be prompted to download an extension containing the codecs you need. Extensions, but that's the way it works. And again,
it is worth noting that, interestingly enough, that does require the Windows 10 Creators Update, which when you see that and also see how they added support for, extensions for Braille, it makes me wonder, if they added any functionality that is necessary for that to the Creators Update, which, I mean, probably, but it was never announced, to my knowledge, and I never remembered seeing anything about that. But, yeah, maybe it's just some little under-the-hood thing that was like a little tweak that required a little wrench and a little addition. But, yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, and there's some other minor fixes and improvements. Now, the best part of me covering this news article is that if you go to Movies and TV in the store right now, well, of course, it would be in the store and then it's under Movies and TV. There's a few different sales. There's a great sale going on for stuff for just $5 if you're in the US. I'm sure it's like $32 if you're in the UK. Sorry, folks. But if you have The Hateful Eight, okay, well, this is one of the cheaper ones. Hateful Eight, this is a film by Tarantino from last year. It's a good, long, violent Tarantino film, and with a whole bunch of people that you normally like. They're pretty much only in Tarantino films, and whatever. If you like these type of movies, you'll like this. Normally $12. This is $5, so 58% off or something.
I was hoping I could make a joke about the Hateful $8.
Sorry, a hateful $5. Yeah, but even better is that by getting this film, well, it's only available through the 21st, which is past, through the 27th. So you only have a few days. Listen to this right away. If you're listening to this, you already are listening to this right away. If you're listening in time before the 27th or by the 27th, you will get a $5 Windows Store gift card by spending $5 on this film, which is normally $12. And it's like 3 hours long, and it's a Tarantino film. So most people like these movies. Some people really hate them, but I don't need to say any more about that. Great deal. It's worth checking out.
Yeah. And there does seem to be some really good movies in there that I have been meaning to see. One that I can recommend, I can definitely recommend Unforgiven. It's a good... Oh, yeah. It is a great Clint Eastwood cowboy film, potentially the best he has ever done, and it's just an excellent film, all in all. It's one of my personal favorites, definitely in my top 5, and one of the other ones that's in my top 5 is Saving Private Ryan, which I don't need to say much about that movie, but it is excellent, and again, highly recommended. That's probably my second favorite film of all time. Used to be the first, and then I just so happened to see John Wick. But yeah.
John Wick's very good, but...
yeah, sadly not on sale here, but great. Still a great film.
Yes. All right, moving forward. What is next? What is next? Dang.
WhatsApp.
What?
I guess...
WhatsApp?
I guess...
Okay, yeah.
WhatsApp? What's up?
That's lame. Go for it.
Oh, but...
or is that me?
yeah, that was your turn.
For WhatsApp? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so everyone loves Snapchat, except not everyone loves Snapchat, but
if you're a Windows user, I don't think you're going to end up loving Snapchat anytime soon.
No.
Instead, you're probably going to be using Instagram, which is not WhatsApp.
But Instagram and Facebook and WhatsApp, they all love Snapchat, and so they're all copying Snapchat, and it's already proven that Snapchat's popularity is beginning to wane, or I should say the increase in users is slowing down. This is like literally from looking at charts. I mean, this is factual.
Yeah,
data.
it seems to be a case where like users liked Snapchat functionality, they just didn't like Snapchat,
or the UI, because good gravy, it's horrible. But
maybe they would have liked the UI better if it was a UI on a Windows phone.
Well, I do like gestures, and so Snapchat takes great advantage of gestures and things like that. But I thought it was stupid. It's stupid anyway. But that's just me get off my lawn, shaking my fist at the sky. So basically, WhatsApp is taking on more Snapchat style UI and features and functionality and things like that.
And moving on from being annoyed at Snapchat to Xbox stuff, there's just a little bit of news here this week, the Games with Gold lineup for March, since, March is coming up, of course, February's on its way out, has been announced, and it includes Borderlands 2, Evolve, which is the asymmetrical multiplayer shooter developed by Turtle Rock Studios, which they actually developed Left 4 Dead. And so then they moved on and moved away from Valve. If memory serves, they were even called Valve South at one point. And they decided that they would team up with 2K Entertainment and release Evolve. And it's a shooter that pits a group of hunters versus a gigantic monster. The interesting thing here is that Evolve has been free to play on PC for months now in an attempt to save the game. And that change is yet to happen to the console versions. For whatever reason, I do not know why. But technically, close enough to free to play you can get here, as you have to pay for Xbox Live Gold to play the game to begin with. So yeah, you can pick it up with Games with Gold next month and enjoy a good old romp with your friends. There's also Layers of Fear, a horror game about an insane painter trying to make his magnum opus.
What?
Yeah, it's something. Sometimes you describe games in just a quick sentence, and it really sounds weird. But like that reaction reminds me of the fact that I've kind of gone numb to this stuff. Like I could read a sentence that said, "This game is about a psychotic garbage man." And he is losing his mind as he goes down the street, and he looks in a trash can. He sees a ghost in there, and then, of course, you're supposed to scream. That wouldn't faze me at this point. I think I've gotten used to just about anything the gaming industry can offer by now.
Oh, okay.
But yeah. And then the final item on offer there is Heavy Weapon, and a game that I originally looked at it and thought, okay, whatever, and then everyone in the comments said Heavy Weapon is great. Check it out. And it's a little Xbox Live Arcade title from way back when, 10 years ago, when Xbox Live Arcade titles could not be more than 50 megabytes. So it's a small, very old-looking game for its age, and it's apparently really, really fun. So, yeah, that should be fun to check out. And of course, to go back to Borderlands, that game, every single game in the Games with Gold lineup is on the Xbox backward compatibility list, meaning that it can be played on the Xbox One and the Xbox 360. Borderlands 2 was not on that list when it was announced, so that was kind of a soft announcement, I'd guess. The fact that it's heading to backwards compatibility, which is, along with a couple other titles, including Assassin's Creed Rogue, which I saw requested quite a bit. And, the full list of titles is up on the site. It's the biggest backward compatibility listing announcement that we've had since, New Year's. So, yeah. As for the final note in the Xbox section today, BioWare has been showing off quite a bit of Mass Effect Andromeda gameplay. Last week, I think that article actually got published right after last week's podcast. Maybe we covered it. I don't remember. Oh boy, now I gotta look. No, we didn't touch on it last week, so I think it came after. But they are currently showing off the videos of Mass Effect Andromeda gameplay. Last week they focused on the game's combat, and this week they have been focusing on how you are going to build your characters, and show how everything works there. And honestly, just 2 videos into... I don't know if they mentioned how long the series would be, but just 2 videos in, and it's actually sold me on Andromeda, so good job, BioWare. And, yeah, I think that's about it for this week.
I have one thing to add real quick, which we missed in the show notes, the host notes here. Microsoft launches another Skype app, but it's not available in the US, so you can't really have them all at once. But it's basically called Skype Light, and I've actually heard there's another name for it too, but maybe that was just a code name or something. Skype Light in India for Android devices. So pretty vague for us. I mean, we can't really get this, but certainly a huge market for those, potential for many, many users in India. Plenty of people there, plenty of people on smartphones, especially using Android. So pretty simple. It is called Skype Light. Basically having, it's designed to use less data. That's one of the points of it. So you can chat with your friends or family, obviously, or it's funny. It says chat with friends and family via Skype or SMS. What if I want to talk with someone besides my friends or family? But that's...
Personally, I like using Skype to communicate with all of my enemies and foes. Mm-hmm. We have a nice little group chat where we get in there and then we start discussing about how we're planning to blow up each other's cars, regular stuff like that.
Anyway, chat with friends and family via Skype or SMS. It's nice that the SMS is integrated in there. That's kind of cool.
That is actually coming to the main Skype app
yes.
For Android at the very least, I think.
Yeah.
We covered the preview app last week.
It also says you can manage your SMS better by unselecting promotional messages. I don't know if this is really a problem here, but apparently it's a thing in India. So I'll just leave it at that. I don't understand it well enough to comment.
That's cool enough actually, because I do think it would be kind of neat to just kind of filter out anything that's like 2-factor codes from my current. I just use the built-in Android messaging app for my texting, but there's just so much stuff you'll see that's just constant login codes. And et cetera, because I have everything set up to authenticate through my phone, of course.
Okay.
So being able to just weed that out would be nice, I think.
Next up, it says you can reduce data consumption by choosing economical calling when making Skype calls. So there's a couple things you can lower. You could use lower quality video, basically. But also, if you use, and vice versa, you can choose to use Skype instead of using a phone call if that is so. I mean, that's one of the features of Skype. Anyway, you don't have to use minutes if you don't want to. You also can know your data usage in the app at any time. That's kind of interesting. Of course, phones for a long time, you can see how much data that app has accrued, but this is right inside the app, which is kind of cool.
not necessarily on Android. So that is an actual selling point there.
So are you? I guess I thought for
I don't
sure
think they're...
My Moto...
Maybe on other Android phones, but like, for example, on my Galaxy S7, let me see. I'll go, okay, there is a data usage section.
Yeah.
And it does show data usage for certain apps. All right, my bad there.
Okay.
But...
And of course,
that was not something that was obvious enough for me.
That's okay. So of course, it does say free voice calls and video calls with anyone to Skype or on Skype, which obviously that's the whole point of Skype. You can share photos, emoticons, and files, which files aren't necessarily always thought of in Skype, but we're leaning more and more that way. And of course, Skype preview on Windows Phone or Windows Mobile is like that. And you get to explore the world of Skype bots. And I know I say that sounds a little bit facetious to begin with, but this is obviously a growing thing, and it's going to be, for some people, it's very, very interesting and compelling, and it's only going to get better, especially when you think about like an airline. You know, an airline plops in their bot, or boy, you could even have one for Uber or something. You can have an Uber bot, although there's an Uber app, of course. But anyway, you get the idea. Bots are going to be a thing. They are a thing, and they're going to be a bigger thing going forward. This is interesting. Skype Light for Android in India. And it just adds to the stack. And I'm not even going to try to remember how many Skype apps we have right now. But I like that they're... You know, I haven't said it in a while. I'm glad that Microsoft didn't name it something else. I'm glad they kept with the Skype name. Even though there was a big push at times to change the name because, Skype is such a bad name. It's getting over that. I think the Skype hate is shifting. I don't know. Maybe I'm...
I definitely have seen far less people angry at Skype lately, although... Maybe it's because, I don't know if it's because some of them moved away from Skype, or if the various apps on various platforms are getting better, but in my personal usage lately, I have not had a single issue with Skype. The Android app hasn't even locked up on me, which used to do here and there for a period of time.
Mm-hmm. Cool. It also does say that they plan to bring, an integration to it, which is going to allow verification of the caller, which would be good for like job interviews and selling and buying things like that, which is kind of interesting. So, all right, I think we better
for this week.
We better finish up here. Well, thanks for listening.
Yeah,
everyone.
It's almost midnight, so
I have 2 children to go scold for 2 different reasons. I better get going. Yeah. So you can follow the site on Twitter at MSPowerUser, @MSPowerUser. You can go to the site at mspoweruser.com, obviously. Do so. I don't know what else to say about that. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm on Twitter at VernonEL. Andy's on Twitter at FusionFan45. And I think it's time to go. I gotta go. So
arrivederci.
Have a great week, everyone. Take care.